And now, in studio, bringing his Midwest values from the Show Me State to the land of San Diego. He's a triple threat, licensed as an attorney, mortgage broker, and a top producing realtor who's crushing the competition. Here to deliver you what's happening in the trenches of the market. Your host, Michael Gaddis.
Welcome back to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am your host, Michael Gaddis from FrontierLoanGroup.com. That's FrontierLoanGroup.com. And I want to talk a little bit about reverse mortgages and keeping an open mind with reverse mortgages. Reverse mortgages are becoming more and more popular. And I know there's a lot of myths and misconceptions about reverse mortgages out there. I hear them all the time. It never fails. If I go to an event, sure enough, I'm going to have, all these people coming up and telling me all these things that aren't true, that reverse mortgages are the nastiest thing in the world. It's just not true. And that just tells me there's a lack of education and a lack of knowledge. But just like in the real estate world, everybody thinks they know everything. Everybody's an expert, right? So, without actually having to do the research or doing any of that stuff, they sure like to spout their opinions. So I want to I'll tell you a little story. I had a woman who is considering a reverse mortgage. And we went through her numbers, and sure enough, she was a very good candidate for a reverse mortgage. She really needed one. So she tells me, she says, Michael, she says, I want a reverse mortgage, but it's very important to me. I have one son, and she says, I really want my one son to be part of this decision. And I said, no problem. I encourage it. And she goes, well, can you come over to my house and meet with us? And I said, yes, absolutely, I can do that. She goes, well, let me tell you something. She goes, my son is very stubborn, and he's a know-it-all. She goes, I'm just telling you straight up, he's going to be very difficult. And I said, that's okay. I said, I'm sure that, once I explain it to him, he'll understand. She goes, okay. So I went over to the lady's house, and the son is there. And I walk in, and boy, it was the coldest reception I've ever gotten. It was like the Arctic was inside that house. He glared at me, and he was shook my hand with one of those fish, handshakes where he doesn't even do anything. He's just doing it, the tertiary handshake. So we sit down at the table, and I just introduce myself again, and I could tell his mind is not there. So I figured the only way I can handle this situation, because he's not open-minded, he was not going to listen to me, was to basically tell him, just to call him out. So I looked at him and I said, you don't like reverse mortgages, do you? And he looks at me and he says, nope, and my mother will never get one. He goes, I can tell you right now, no matter what you say. And I said, well, let me ask you something. I said, how well do you know your mom? And he says, well, I know her very well. He goes, obviously, I'm her son. I've known her my entire life. I'm like, well, that's good. I said, how well do you know her finances? And he says, well, I think I know them. I said, oh, you think you know them? I said, but let me tell you something. I do know them. I've spent 3 days going through your mother's whole life. So I know where all her income is. I know what all her expenses are. And I know what all her savings are. So I know all her numbers. I said, let me ask you a couple questions. Number one, I said, did you know that your mom doesn't make enough money every single month from her Social Security and her pensions to live in this house? And so let me just tell you, she's not living the highest quality of life as it is right now. But did you know that she's not making enough? I said, did you also know that she has to subsidize from her savings at a rate of $600 a month? $600 a month she has to pull from her savings to maintain her quality of life here, which, as I mentioned, is not the highest quality of life. She's surviving, but she's not really living. And I said, number three, did you know she's only got about 3 months left of savings? Did you know that? And I could tell he didn't, because he was kind of looking at me and he was really kind of paying attention, and he was kind of like, his eyes were kind of like wide, like I had just told him some super secret. And so what I told him is this: as I see it, you have three options. I said, number one, I said you could, when your mom runs out of money in 3 months, you could give her $600 a month to help her maintain this quality of life that she has right now, which, as I mentioned, is not the best quality of life, but it'll at least sustain her. So you could give her $600 a month as your first option. Number two is you could sell her house and you could take all that money and have her move in with you. And the reason I say move in with you is because she's going to go through a lot of her money. I said because to rent and to live, it's going to cost her money, and she only has a finite amount of money. And I said, so it would, you could have her live with you. I said, or number 3, you could sit there, keep an open mind, and listen to what we have to say about reverse mortgages. And then you can make an educated decision with your mother about whether it's right for her. I said, those are your 3 choices. I said, which one do you want? Which one do you choose? And you know what he chose? Number 3. You know what he said? Tell me more about those reverse mortgages. I said, that's exactly what I thought. And the whole purpose of me just telling you that story is to tell you how important it is to keep an open mind. Now, it wasn't like I was trying to make them sign on a dotted line or anything. All I wanted him to do was help his mother understand the product and to keep an open mind about what it could do for her life. And, and that's the important part, because he was completely shut off when I walked in that room. I could have talked for an hour and a half, and he wouldn't have listened to a thing I had to say. However, if I called him out on it, which I did, and I threw, it's kind of like the pink elephant. I just threw it on the table and said, okay, let's talk about this, the elephant in the room, let's do it. And we had to do that because I had to overcome that to open his mind up. But once I did, he was much more receptive, and he listened to really what was going on in his mom's life, how a reverse mortgage might help her. And here's what I believe. I believe that reverse mortgages are incredible products, and they can really help people who need them. And are reverse mortgages right for every single situation? No, they're not right for every single situation, but they are right for many, many people. And I think a lot of people get tripped up because they don't have an open mind, because they've been told things that aren't necessarily true, or they believe things or only half hear what they're really about. I know this because I know there's a lot of financial planners that are starting to use reverse mortgages as part of their financial plan. It is a good way for some people to be able to live a better quality of life. And in California, it can be really hard. You should come with me. You should come with me to visit these seniors that I see, and you can see how they're living. You can see what they're going through and their struggles, and what quality of life they're living in retirement. This is not why these people have worked so hard all their lives to be able to live like this. They're literally house rich and cash poor. And it's a shame that they don't have enough money to go out to a movie or go out to eat. Or if the price of gas goes up too much, it'll affect their budget and won't allow them to go to church. Those types of I see this all the time. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. Now, at the same time, I don't think it's the right solution for every single person, but I do think that seniors who should consider it and say, hey, how can this help me in my life? Is there a way I can utilize a reverse mortgage to help me live a better quality of life? Should I be able to take take advantage of the line of credit growth that they have, which is just a phenomenal feature of the reverse mortgage? The line of credit alone, is a reason for almost any senior to consider a reverse mortgage. The line of credit growth, especially if you're in your early, mid to late 60s or early 70s, where you won't need the line of credit immediately, but you can just watch it exponentially grow over time, so you can have access to it. So my whole point in this whole segment is to basically tell people to keep an open mind. Even if you've heard horror stories, go to somebody who really understands these products and understands how it works, and that has your best interests at mind. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. Don't go with anybody who's just trying to, get you to sign, or your mom to sign, or your friend to sign on the dotted line. Really go with somebody who sits there, spends the time to really make you understand how this product works. And I think when you see it, and I think when you take the time to learn, you will be very appreciative of everything that a reverse mortgage has to offer. Now, at the end of the day, it might not be the right solution. You might still say, well, this is not right for my mom, or this is not right for my friend. But at least you'll say, but at least I understand it. And it's not some sort of monster that I thought it was. It's actually a very good mechanism for certain people. And that's all my only goal. My only goal when I do my workshops or I meet with clients is to basically help them understand what a reverse mortgage is. I don't have to sell reverse mortgages. I just explain reverse mortgages. People will make their own decision about whether it's right or wrong for them on their own, but they do it with full knowledge and understanding of how the product works. So keep an open mind with reverse mortgages, and if you know anybody who's considering one, please have them contact my office at frontierloangroup.com. That's frontierloangroup.com, and I service all of California. I only do loans in California, anywhere in California, frontierloangroup.com. Well, I want to thank everyone for listening to the Michael Gaddis Show tonight, and I'll be back here next Monday talking about anything and everything related to real estate. Maybe we'll even talk about the Oscars again. I don't know. So anyway, I want to thank you all again for tuning in on this rainy Monday night, and I will see you again next Monday at 7 p.m. You're listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer.